Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at an Echo CS-355T top handle chainsaw. Customer complaint is he just wants a tune-up. So first thing we're going to do here is look at the air filter. And it's a nylon mesh style air filter. We're going to be able to clean that. And the whole time we're going through this saw, you know, I might be looking at the fuel cap right now, cleaning that schmutz off of there before I open it up. But I could also be looking at other things on the saw. I could be looking at the condition of the handle or the brake handle, whatever it may be. The fact that I am doing a voiceover on this video allows me to tell you the things that I'm looking at that you might not normally see. So now we're going to put a pressure, we're going to pressurize the fuel system. We're putting 10 pounds on that fuel line and it doesn't leak. So we know that there's no hole in the fuel line and the carburetor doesn't have any leaks in it. Root beer. Alright, I have decided I'm going to put a new fuel filter on it, but I didn't have it handy. So that's why I kind of just propped this up here so it didn't fall back in the tank on me. But here we have an official Walbro fuel filter that we're putting on. And you know, when a customer brings something in for a tune-up, a lot of times that means that it's not running normal and they think it needs to be looked at, which is the right thing to do. Or they just haven't looked at it in a while and they got a project coming up. Because I know when they bring it to me, a tune-up includes cleaning it up if it's messy. This saw is not in bad shape at all. So again, here's one of them times where we're just looking it over. One thing I want to check is the spark arrestor screen. And in order to access that, I'm going to have to pull the clutch cover off of here. So we'll get that off. This saw is in pretty good shape. I don't remember, but I think this is just a homeowner saw. Pretty popular saw too. It goes up against the Husky T540 as far as saws of this physical size. Probably doesn't have as much power, but it certainly doesn't cost as much money. Now here again, I'm looking things over while I'm doing this. I'm looking at the chain catch and the bar studs and the tensioner screw. And one big thing I'm looking at is the gears on the spur drive, looking at the clutch springs. Just because I don't put my hands on those things doesn't mean I'm not looking at them. So I'm trying to get a good look at the spark arrestor screen right now, and I figure because there's only 2 screws holding this muffler on, I'm going to pull it right off of there. That'll give me the opportunity to look into the cylinder as well. Where the spark plug is located on here, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get a good look inside the cylinder. So I was trying to prop this up so you could see in here, but I kind of failed on that. The point is I'm looking at the piston skirt at the exhaust port for scoring, and I'm not finding any. Now I'm going to look at that spark arrestor screen. You can see there that my light clearly shines through the exhaust port. There's no blockage there. So we'll put this all back together. Get this muffler torque down. Look how clean this thing is. I mean, I don't even see on that chain guide plate where there's been any scratching, chain rubbage, none of that. This muffler heat shield is in really good shape. I don't think there's a lot of hours on here because they start to blacken up a little bit from exhaust and heat after they age. And this one's still nice and clean and orange. So another thing that we didn't talk about were the anti-vibe springs on the handle. And just while handling the saw and moving it around, a person usually gets a pretty good feel for whether or not there's a bad spring. And I didn't feel anything bad on here. So we'll get the debris off of the bar, clean out the groove, and we'll get this barred back up. Kind of speed through putting the chain on here. But one important step, if you're new to this type of thing, putting a chain on, is you want to roll that chain. Now you see how it doesn't want to move? I'm going to loosen up the tension a little bit. I'm going to get it so it moves. And there's kind of a notch there, and then all of a sudden it moved freely. Maybe there's a little kink in the chain or something. But you want to make sure you get that chain to roll freely on the bar before you tension it and tighten it up. Otherwise you're going to fire the thing up and the motor's going to force the chain to move, and then there'll be a bunch of slack in it and maybe it'll come off of there. The lanyard hook looks to be in good shape. There's a cover that goes over the spark plug boot. We're going to remove that cover. Just slides right out of place after you loosen that screw. And we'll kind of blow some of that schmutz out of the way. So you can see the way that plugs in there. That kind of would be a pain in the butt to look in there decent and see what's going on. Now, a tune-up, in my mind, doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to throw a new air filter and a new spark plug and new whatever at it. Nothing wrong with that plug. Color's decent. There's no roundage or anything like that on the end of the electrode. It's nice and square. Thing doesn't have much runtime on it. There's no good reason to put a spark plug in here at this time. Just like there's no good reason to replace a nylon mesh air filter unless there's a hole in it. Now the fuel filter, that's a different story. It's always exposed to fuel, and you know the fuel isn't always consistent. Depends where you buy it or what's in your can. So you can see the dirt in this filter right now. And we're just going to blow that out. And it's important at some point after blowing out this filter to hold it up to the light and make sure you didn't blow a hole through it. Here I'm actually using a little bit of cleaner to help me get some of that schmutz out of there. And we'll clean out the inside of the air filter cover as well. So we'll give it a test run here and see how it runs. Eventually it's going to go into a log and get tuned anyway. We just got to see how it runs, or if it runs. Yeah, so that sounds pretty good. Good starting point. We don't know what it's going to sound like under load, but we'll find out. And here I'm just going to hold that air filter up to the light and make sure I didn't wreck anything on it. That's all I'm going to have for you on the Echo 355T top panel chainsaw tune-up. Thanks for watching. Later.